Imagine waking up not just to face the day, but to actively extend your healthy, vibrant years. It sounds almost too good to be true, doesn't it? But what if I told you that the simple act of choosing how you spend your mornings could be a powerful secret weapon in your longevity toolkit? We often think of morning routines as just a way to boost productivity or feel a bit more energized for our workday. And while they certainly do that, recent research is painting a much more profound picture. Studies are increasingly linking consistent morning habits, especially certain types of physical activity, directly to markers of healthy aging and even increased lifespan. This isn't just about feeling better today, it's about building a foundation for a healthier, more resilient you decades down the line. Most people don't realize the significant impact these early choices can have on their long-term health trajectory. In fact, the science suggests that incorporating specific types of movement into your early hours may improve everything from cognitive function to metabolic health and even cellular repair processes. We're going to dive deep into exactly which morning exercise habits are showing the most promise in supporting healthy aging and how you can easily integrate them into your own life, starting tomorrow. We all want to age gracefully, maintaining our vitality and enjoying life to the fullest. The good news is that many aspects of healthy aging are within our control, often starting with surprisingly simple daily habits. Today, we're diving deep into one such habit, the power of a morning exercise routine. Research consistently suggests that incorporating physical activity into the start of your day may offer profound benefits for long-term health and well-being. We're not talking about intense, grueling workouts that require hours at the gym. Instead, we'll explore how even moderate, consistent morning movement can set the stage for a healthier, more vibrant future. Studies link regular morning exercise to improved cardiovascular health, enhanced cognitive function, and better mood regulation throughout the day. These benefits, when accumulated over years, contribute significantly to what we define as healthy aging. Most people don't realize just how accessible and impactful these morning routines can be. It's about creating sustainable practices that feel good and genuinely support your body and mind as you get older. I personally find that starting my day with some movement, even just a brisk walk, completely changes my outlook and energy levels. We'll look at the scientific backing for these claims, examining how morning activity impacts everything from cellular health to sleep quality. We'll also cover practical, actionable tips for integrating these routines into even the busiest schedules. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress and finding what works best for you. Think of this as your guide to leveraging the power of the morning to invest in your future self. By the end of this video, you'll have a clearer understanding of why a morning move can be one of the most powerful tools in your healthy aging toolkit. Let's explore how these simple yet profound habits can truly transform your journey through life. Stepping into the heart of our discussion, research suggests that embracing morning exercise habits holds a remarkable power to positively influence our metabolism, energy levels, and even our cellular health throughout the entire day. It's more than just getting it over with. It's about setting a biological precedent for the hours that follow. Studies consistently link early morning physical activity to an optimized metabolic rate, meaning your body becomes more efficient at burning calories and utilizing fuel from the moment you wake up. This isn't just about weight management, it's about robust energy production at a cellular level, providing a steady stream of vitality rather than the typical midday slump many experience. Most people don't realize that this morning activation can significantly impact how your body processes nutrients from breakfast and lunch, leading to more stable blood sugar levels and reduced cravings later on. Furthermore, emerging research points to the profound impact morning movement has on cellular health, specifically concerning mitochondrial function. Mitochondria, often called the powerhouses of our cells, benefit immensely from early physical exertion, leading to improved cellular repair and resilience. This translates to better overall cellular vitality, which is a cornerstone of healthy aging and sustained energy. I personally find that starting my day with movement, even something as simple as a brisk walk, completely changes my mental clarity and productivity for the entire morning. This early engagement helps to kickstart various biological processes that support cognitive function and mood regulation. It's an investment in your day that pays dividends far beyond the initial sweat. By establishing this routine, you're not just exercising, you're essentially programming your body for optimal performance and longevity. It's about creating a ripple effect of well-being that extends from your first stretch to your final unwinding. So, how exactly can we weave this powerful habit into our lives without feeling overwhelmed by the thought of another early alarm? Beyond just getting your body moving, one of the most impactful elements of a morning routine for healthy aging is early exposure to natural light. This seemingly simple act plays a profound role in regulating your body's internal clock, your circadian rhythm. Research suggests that consistent morning light exposure helps to properly set this rhythm, signaling to your body that the day has begun. This signal is crucial for a cascade of physiological processes, from hormone release to metabolic function. Studies link early natural light to improved sleep quality, as it reinforces the distinction between day and night, making it easier for your body to wind down later on. Most people don't realize just how powerful this simple exposure can be for overall well-being. When your circadian rhythm is well regulated, your body can more efficiently repair itself and manage stress, both vital components for graceful aging. Conversely, an irregular circadian rhythm, often caused by a lack of morning light and too much artificial light at night, may contribute to sleep disturbances and other health challenges over time. I personally find that stepping outside, even for just 10 or 15 minutes shortly after waking, makes a noticeable difference in my energy levels and mood throughout the day. It doesn't have to be direct sunlight. Even bright, overcast conditions are beneficial. The key is to get that natural light into your eyes, ideally without sunglasses, allowing your body to receive those critical environmental cues. This practice helps to suppress melatonin production in the morning, promoting wakefulness and alertness, which naturally shifts to higher melatonin production in the evening for better sleep. Think of it as hitting the resets button for your internal clock each day. This consistent rhythm supports not just better sleep, but also more stable energy levels, improved mood, and enhanced cognitive function, all of which are cornerstones of a vibrant, healthy life as we age. So, as you plan your morning, consider making that early light exposure a non-negotiable part of your routine. It's a foundational step that complements any physical activity you incorporate, setting the stage for optimal daily function and long-term health.
We're in danger of losing our bees. Let us make sure we keep our ducks. In addition to abominable, sulphurous and futile, another phrase that I used in a story requires comment. In a piece entitled Hunched Among the Shimmerings, which I read 2 weeks ago, I think, I mentioned an industrial funnel manufacturing compound. And I received a letter from R, which said, I wonder if Mr. Key would be kind enough briefly to clarify about the industrial funnel manufacturing compound. Is this a manufacturing compound where industrial funnels are brought into being, or is it rather an industrial manufacturing compound whose output happens to be funnels? Lest I seem to be splitting hairs, I should perhaps add that the former instance might well be a case of two amiable widows occasionally meeting in, let's suppose, a disused pig pen or similar compound, where they desultorily pop a few more rivets into their lives' work, a single immense funnel of statuesque and sturdy conception. Whereas the latter case might imply a colossal foundry or other such satanic installation which churns out in their tens of thousands minute funnels of such a definitively non-industrial calibre that they buckle or actually wither to dust under the mere weight of the potential customer's scrutiny. And R is quite right to draw attention to the ambiguity, and so I'm happy to clarify that the industrial funnel manufacturing compound to which I referred was indeed a disused pig pen wherein two widows popped rivets into a single immense funnel. I'm glad we've cleared that one up, which means we can move on now to the next piece, which is called A Man of Parts. He was a man of parts. He was a slobbering and syphilitic whoremonger who could yet charm the birds from the sky, often when leaning against a mantelpiece at a swish cocktail party. Like Eric Satie, he liked to eat sausages in camphor. His neck movements were sometimes like those of a vulture, and sometimes like those of the sadly extinct giant short-faced bear. When out and about on his so-called patrols, he usually wore a crushed crimpling cravat and a superabundance of brazen jet cufflinks, each one of which he polished vigorously with swarfiga. The distribution of so many unnecessary cufflinks about his person was a wonder to behold, and was regularly remarked upon by fashion mavens, but never copied. When he wore a hat, he wore it with a chain, linking it to a sturdy ring bolted to the back of his neck, and he wore it with éclat. He sucked on spangles of many flavours. Slipping out of a den of vice through a side door, slinking with surprising elegance along a night alley thick with the leavings of debauchery, he whistled "Oh Danny Boy," attracting the attention of police officers. Threatened with truncheons and prosecution, he turned upon those who would do him harm a basilisk stare and faced them down, magnificent in his imperiousness. His slobberings increased as he grew older, and he collected them when he could into a tin spittle basin and left it out on his porch at night, where rainfall diluted the slobberings and the morning dew diluted them further, and during his morning patrol he poured them into a pond. You could cut yourself on the creases in his trousers, they were so well pressed. He ironed them with a vintage Pastewick steam iron. Like Georges Clemenceau, he ate gruel for breakfast. When taking refuge in thickets of shrubbery, he passed the time by fomenting wild schemes in his brain. The skin on his ears had a patina of verdigris, as if it were copper or bronze, likewise the skin in the area of one of his collarbones. A man of parts. Imagine him at 90, in a dinghy, somewhere out on the cold and roaring sea, alone, without oar or compass or radio set, or his beloved sausages in camphor, his tin flask of Courvoisier almost empty. Even here, long-tailed vermin are scuttling through his mind like the sewer it is. His slobbering is unabated. Yet 2 days later, he's to be found sprawled in a deck chair upon a golden beach, his still glorious bouffant shiny with hair oil, the bolt in the back of his neck freshly greased, and dangling from the ring and the chain a Panama hat, like the one favoured by actor Sidney Greenstreet. And imagine him now, aged just 10, at a crossroads in desolate terrain. A big black crow is perched on the signpost. Whither shall he wander, this puny child? And I'm going to read something else to you now that's come my way. If you're a keen traveller with an interest in gravy, you'd already be aware that there are two recommended forms of transport to suit your palate, the gravy boat and the gravy train. Some years ago it was announced that a cheap and safe gravy booster jetpack was being developed, but alas, funding for the project was fumbled, as is so often the case, and the company behind the scheme collapsed amid bitterness and gall like something from the Book of Lamentations. There the story might have ended. But according to a fascinating documentary due to be broadcast next week on the soup, sauce and gravy-focused online channel TV, one of the key figures involved is still working away at the idea from a potting shed on an allotment in a dismal little town somewhere in the back of Beyond. Hooting Yard is always keen to salute inventors, be they cranks or visionaries. So I managed to obtain a transcript of part of the programme, and that's what I'd like to read to you now. It's rather cramped in this potting shed on an allotment in the dismal little town somewhere in the back of Beyond, and there's very little light, so you probably won't be able to see much apart from oppressive gloom. Also, we're having a few problems with the camera, so the gloom will be not just oppressive but juddery. I've just sent a runner back to the studio to see if we can get a repair person or a replacement camera, but I'm not holding my breath. I was holding my breath a few minutes ago, however, because the man I've come here to see released some valves and the potting shed was filled with fumes, which luckily have dispersed. Apparently, the fumes were so toxic they could fell a field of cows in 8 seconds flat from a huge distance, so I consider myself pretty lucky that I'm still talking to you. So, who is he, this man squashed into a cramped potting shed on an allotment in a dismal little town somewhere in the back of Beyond, releasing valves that let toxic fumes escape, endangering himself and me and Prudence the camera woman, not to mention thousands of cows for miles around? Well, he won't tell me his name and he won't speak. He wants to remain anonymous because of the top secret nature of what he's up to, and he won't speak because he says he's too busy resealing the valves and mucking about with millions of other gubbins. Now, you might think that faced with an uncooperative subject and a faulty camera, we would just pack up and go home. But here at Slops TV, we don't know the meaning of failure. That's why we've become the top soup, sauce and gravy-focused online channel on the web. We press ahead with the big stories where the faint of heart and the weak-minded would falter. As it says in our mission statement, we're, quote, not just about soup and sauce and gravy, we're about the burning ambition and uncontrollable frenzy of a hothead who simply doesn't understand the word no. Even Prudence had to sign up to that one, and she's a Quaker, or a Mennonite, or one of those quietist sects, and a damn fine camera woman, if I may say so. See, now she's managed to find a sliver of light coming in through a gap in the roof of the potting shed on an allotment in a dismal little town somewhere in the back of Beyond. And even though the camera is even more juddery than before, you might just be able to get a glimpse of me presenting this exciting programme, flailing my arms around in an intriguing way. You still won't be able to see the man we've come to film, because he's skulking about in the gloom doing something to a pneumatic pump. I think he's holding a pair of tweezers in one hand. In fact, he's only got one hand. Like a lot of crackpot inventors, he wears a prosthetic arm after losing the one he was born with in an explosion during one of his experiments. But that was then and this is now, and the tension is building as he patiently goes about his tinkering in the darkness. Like a mole or other burrowing animal, he's perfectly able to work in Stygian gloom, because he's been doing this for years, fashioning all sorts of contraptions designed to make the world a better place. I'll let you in on a little secret. It's not actually related to soup or sauce or gravy, so forgive me for going off message. But this one-armed man with his tweezers working diligently in a cramped potting shed on an allotment in a dismal little town somewhere in the back of beyond is the man who gave us the retractable bloater skewer, that invaluable device which allows us to retract the skewer on which we've skewered our bloaters. Who can imagine a breakfast of bloaters where such a simple tool is not, at the very least, an option? Oh, you can say, I don't want to retract the skewer from my bloaters, thank you very much. You can say that, and it might even be true, but I'll bet there are times when the thought niggles away at you that, thanks to our friend here, you at least could if you wanted to. Prudence has very helpfully pointed out to me that soup, sauce and gravy can all serve as accompaniments to bloaters, so I wasn't going wildly off message after all. There's something strangely compelling about watching an amateur boffin at the top of his game. This reminds me of the time excuse me. This reminds me of the time I was sent to do a report on a retired pig farmer who had devised an entirely new kind of bird scarifier. It was made of blotting paper and reconstituted meat substitute and dust, and the idea was that you attached it to a bunch of balloons and launched it into the air over your pigsty, and it would stop your pigs being attacked by savage starlings and guillemots and chaffinches. That old pig farmer also had a prosthetic limb, as a matter of fact, but in his case it was a leg. He too worked from a potting shed, but rather than being on an allotment in a dismal little town somewhere in the back of beyond, his was at the edge of a dilapidated cluster of buildings that had once been his pig farm before he retired, set in a sylvan vale with brooks that babbled and dingly dells. It was certainly the most idyllic, dilapidated pig farm I have ever filed a report from. The retired pig farmer gave me a demonstration of his invention, and I'm hoping soon that this chap in the gloom is going to do likewise. At the moment, he's messing around with some flaps and nozzles, and I get the impression that he doesn't want to be interrupted. So, while Prudence's camera is still rolling, let's take a quick look outside. Well, as you can see, it's pretty grim. These are blizzard conditions. I can see some hollyhocks and a turnip patch, but that's about it. It's actually quite difficult to get your bearings. In fact, I think we've strayed too far from the potting shed because I can't even see it anymore. We're in a sort of white nothingness. Now, I don't know if you can see this on your screens, but Prudence is pointing her camera at a sort of wraith-like being who is beckoning to us. It can't be my taciturn crackpot inventor friend, because it's much taller than him. Much, much taller. We're going to follow this impossibly huge albino ghoul, and this being Slops TV, you can come with us. We're heading past some sleet-lashed potato beds now, and there seem to be more wraiths, a whole crowd of them, in fact, beckoning and groaning. This is fantastic. The spooky part is that we never seem to be getting any closer to these gigantic phantom beings. We must be a fair spit from the potting shed by now, judging by how far we've come, but the wraiths are still ahead of us, just at the edge of our vision. Their groaning and keening is getting louder, though more desperate, and there's something quite menacing about it. Oops, I think I just trod on a cabbage. And now I can't feel anything at all under my feet. It's as if we're in a complete void, white, limitless and desolate. Prudence tells me that we're now surrounded by wraiths. They're behind us as well as ahead of us, at both sides, above us and below us. And the moaning and keening is growing ever more insistent and hideous and implacable. I haven't known anything like this since the report I did from the abyss of doom in the land of Gar. Or, hang on, is that where we are now? Time doesn't seem to mean anything anymore. No time, no space, just howling, beckoning ghouls in a cold white emptiness, with Prudence by my side, running out of film. apparently, if you go online to Slops TV sometime next week, you can see the programme that's a transcript of the commentary from. Don't know the URL though. The global merchandising arm of the Hooting Yard franchise, always keenly aware of what passes for the zeitgeist, will shortly be launching upon a delighted public its latest product. Excuse me, you just have to put up with this, it's part of the live experience. Years of ruminously expensive research have come to fruition with the appearance in a shop near you of the malevolent homunculus action figure. Deceptively innocent looking, this tiny homunculus-sized homunculus is actually a model of a particularly evil homunculus, one which can be sent out on nocturnal escapades to terrorise one's unsuspecting neighbours. Although not as minuscule as the homunculus favoured by spermist theoreticians, it is still remarkably small, about the size of a newborn squirrel. It has movable arms and legs, a fully rotating head, and a well-ironed shirt, the better to conceal its inherent malevolence. The package also includes a scenic backdrop made of sturdy cardboard of those pollarded willows by the canal just before the level crossing from Brief Encounter, David Lean, 1945, against which the malevolent homunculus can be posed spookily. And that's the end of this week's Hooting Yard on the Air. I leave you with a new experiment. I thought I might try to do digests of interesting news stories that I read in the papers. And the other week I read a piece, and I thought this is interesting. So how can I cut it down to a easy? It's like almost like the Hooting Yard version of the Reader's Digest.